I'm on the summit of Scafell Pike, which is the highest point in England. We don't have any big hills in England, but even though this isn't very big, it's only, I think, 9, 7, 8 meters tall. This isn't an easy walk, as all the routes leading to this point have some very rocky sections. And how can I put it? On the way up here, I did notice lots of people having problems walking over the various types of rocks. So just in case any of them are watching, I thought it'd be a good idea, because I've got my camera in the bag, to make a video called How to Walk on Loose Rocks. Now, loose rocks come in many shapes and sizes, and there's more than one way to walk over them. And obviously, if you're a geologist, there are big differences between pebbles, cobbles, talus, boulders, etc., etc. But this video will be for people who go walking in the hills. And let's face it, all we care about is how to get over them safely. For most people who go walking in the hills, it comes down to two things: how big the stones are and what type of terrain they're in. Because it's these factors which decide how much the stones will move. Important. And what happens if things go wrong. So for today, and to keep things simple, I'm going to group all the different types of rocks and stones in the world into just 3 types: small, medium and big. Small stones, where hundreds or even thousands of them can shift at the same time. Medium rocks, where a few of them may move at the same time. And big boulders, which usually only move one at a time. Obviously, this isn't a hard and fast rule. Sometimes several boulders will shift together, and sometimes only the tiny stones under your feet will move. But we do need a starting point, otherwise this video will go on for hours and hours. So for today, there are only 3 types of rocks in the whole world: small, medium and big. That's it. Oh, I said I'm at the top of Scafell Pike, but I'm actually 25 meters below the summit. But by the miracle of modern editing, I'll turn the camera around and point it at the summit, and you'll see why I'm not actually sat there. It's quite crowded. That's the best way to put it. But you know, it's the middle of summer. Nice walk up the hills. People have got every right to come up here. Let's start with small stones. And from a trekking point of view, you'll find most of them either scattered over bigger stones or on hard-packed earth, or covering a large area. It's called a scree slope. The stones most likely to catch you are the little ones sitting on bigger rocks, but like this. But these are often impossible to see until your foot hits them, and by then it's too late. When you slip on small stones sitting on larger rocks, it's usually down to momentum. In simple terms, you're still moving when your foot lands, which makes the small stones roll or slide over the surface of the bigger rock. And because your weight is on them, you go in the same direction, usually faster than you intended. Wow. There's not many walking videos which includes Newton's first law of motion, or his law of inertia. So to avoid Isaac Newton throwing you on the ground, slow your pace down. Give yourself time to place each step carefully. Put your foot down, not forward. And you know, this is the most important part of this. Aim for a vertical landing, so you're not pushing the stones ahead of you. Keep your weight, try and keep your weight centered and low. This means that you're lowering yourself to the rock rather than stepping down with your leg straight. Okay, so you're not leaning too far forward. Just make these small adjustments to your walking, and even if the small stones do shift under your feet, you'll have a much better chance of keeping your balance. The small stones on scree slopes are the least likely to injure you, But for many people, they're the most intimidating and scary. That's because as soon as you step onto them, like this, the whole surface may start to move, or at least the part that you're on. And, you know, let's be honest, that's unusual. Unless you're on sand or soft snow, the ground usually stays still, stays where it is. Scree slopes don't. So my first piece of advice is probably the hardest to follow in this whole video, and in some cases impossible. Don't panic. The ground will move, so be ready for it. Keep your knees slightly bent, you know, to lower your center of gravity, and stay balanced. The way you walk on scree comes down to how the stones are arranged. There's a lot of space between them. So when you put your weight onto them, they shift to fill those gaps, and they leave new gaps behind. In other words, the scree is constantly, rearranging itself underneath your feet. You're trying to compress the scree as much as possible to create a firmer surface. The best way to do that is to put all your weight and momentum into one place, one spot. So unlike most trekking situations, in this case, if you're walking downhill, you know, keep your legs slightly balanced still, but try and plant your heel down first and plant it firmly. So, you know, if you're going uphill, plant the front of your foot first. The reason for this is you're trying to press the stones down, and this helps to create a firmer patch to step onto. So on scree slopes, expect the slope to move. It is going to move. Stay low, walk heels first going downhill, toes first going uphill, and even if it is scary, once again, this may be impossible, try and let yourself slide with the flow and don't panic. Okay, then let's talk about walking over medium-sized rocks. These can be anything from the size of your clenched fist up to the size of your upper body. Sometimes they're solidly embedded in the ground and they're perfectly safe to walk on. Other times, most of the time, they're just sitting there waiting for you to give them a gentle nudge, at which point they'll happily go bouncing down the slope. So with this in mind, here's my single most important tip for this type of terrain. Never walk directly below someone else. If a rock gets dislodged, you want plenty of space between you and its path. And remember, unlike in the movies, once a rock starts bouncing down and deflecting off other rocks, they don't always travel in a straight line. So, as I said, never be below somebody else in this type of rocky slope. There are times when we have no choice other than to walk over, you know, this type of terrain behind me. We've all done it. Everybody who goes walking in the hills will come across these types of areas. So here's my advice. Test each rock before putting your weight onto it. Aim for the flattest, most stable surfaces and keep your weight centered over your feet. So don't stretch forward with your leg. Oh, and if you have them and you want to, use walking poles. I should do. A safety note here, by the way. If you do dislodge a rock, we've all done it. If a rock starts to roll down the hill because you've pushed it, you really must let everybody below know that it's heading towards them, even if they're not directly below you. So what you can't do is shout, "There's a rock heading and I think it may be going in your general direction and I'm really sorry," and etc, etc. That is not what you do. In the UK, there is a standard way to warn people, and this is just to shout very loudly one word, below, and keep shouting below until the rock stops. Obviously, in other countries, other words will be used, but the aim is the same, and that's to warn the people below you that there's a rock heading towards them. and the fog is lifting. The visibility now is not too bad. It's about 100 meters. Earlier it was down to about 20 meters. If I was a real YouTuber, a proper YouTuber, I'd always have perfect lighting. Welcome to my world. That's small stones and medium-sized rocks. Now let's scale things up and talk about boulders. I think we all know that if you get hit by a boulder, the results are going to be far more serious than with smaller rocks. Boulders occasionally do fall naturally. Maybe water has frozen and thawed behind it, or rain has washed away the ground supporting it. So these things do happen. And if one hits you, well, that's just bad luck. Wrong place, wrong time, you know. But let's be realistic. It's highly unlikely that you'll ever get hit by a naturally falling boulder. What is much more likely to happen is that you'll slip when you're on a boulder, or your leg may go down between your boulder and the next one and hurt your leg, or possibly something more serious. Oh, and the risk increases enormously if the rocks are wet. So here's my advice. Plan your route in short sections. In a boulder field, a route might only be 5 or 10 meters. So go from where you are to the next safe spot and then plan the next section. Safety first, always. Getting across matters more than going in some direction. Oh, on this point, by the way, in fog, rain, darkness, etc., it is surprisingly easy to get disorientated in a boulder field. Never, never assume that a boulder is solid, however massive it is. If it's 20 or 40 or 60 tons and wedged between others, step onto it carefully and be ready to adjust if it shifts. Use your hands when needed. And if you do, keep 3 points of contact, you know, for stability. If you have them, use trekking poles. And are you ready for this? The golden rule. Do not, under any circumstances, ever jump between boulders. That's just an accident waiting to happen. And yes, I know there are YouTube videos telling people to jump from boulder to boulder. I never comment on other people's videos. So all I'll say is that, in my opinion, you shouldn't do this. But, you know, it's a free country, so it's up to you. At the end of this, hopefully you now know about walking on different sized rocks. Just a little point, by the way, if you are coming up Scafell Pike and people say, I'm going to follow the track, this is the track through these boulders. There is a track on some parts of it, but this is part of the track. I've seen people up here today most of the people up here in training shoes, Adidas, Reebok, you know, it's just, I saw 2 people wearing Crocs. I mean, come on, Crocs in this. These people in these very stupid, what do they call them? Barefoot walking boots. No, it's just, you've only got 2 ankles. Enough said. Wear proper walking boots, proper mountaineering, rugged walking boots. Anyway, that's enough of that. Thanks for watching.